What is peripheral artery disease? We have so many resources out there, but speak to the patients and give them the depth and breadth that they desire to really understand what is poor circulation in the legs and how does it affect our lives and how do we manage it. Well, we have a researcher from Scotland. We have Catherine Nagel, who has taken the time to work with our network of PAD warriors, including our good friend Kathy here, who is the administrator for our UK PAD patient support group. We all got together in, what was it, in late March,
Yeah.
and we all talked about what do patients want to know, what's not out there. I mean, just telling a patient, um, Catherine, it's a circulation issue that affects your arteries in your legs and it could lead to amputation. I mean, that's basically what's out there, right? Oh, and it's caused by diabetes and smoking and maybe autoimmune conditions and clotting disorders. And so walk, 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 go, go, go. And that's basically about it. But patients wanted more. Would you mind sharing with us what did you learn in our last session that, and then we'll share what you created based on it.
So, in the last session, it was fantastic. Everyone kind of joined in and gave their views on stuff, and what they wanted to know about. So I went back and I wrote everything down and I recorded everything and I made sure that it was really centered on what people said they wanted. So what came out of it is a document that really is, so we defined it as a starter pack for PAD. It kind of takes you through the first little bits of everything that you need to know. So what is PAD and what is it as a disease? How does it happen? Why does it happen? What's going to happen with it? All the way through what happens with my doctor, how are they going to help me? How can I help myself? And then finally, really focusing on that, how can I help myself? Exercising and why it's even important, and then also how to get started. Yeah,
Would you like me to pull them up?
absolutely, that'd be great.
Okay. Let me pull them up here. I can share my screen. And there it is. A nice little cover, a patient-centered guide to understanding and living with PAD. So, oh, I love that you put at the bottom, developed with a community of individuals with PAD for individuals with PAD. That's really cool. I don't know if anyone can see that's right there at the bottom. Okay, so let's start out here. I'm going to magnify it some. So click and drag down to, there we go. Perfect. Can you see it?
Yeah, that looks great.
Awesome. Okay, you want to walk us through this?
So this is just the first little bit. So you open it up and you know exactly what's in it and what it's going to take you through. And if you're looking for any specific information, you'll know which section to go through. Then a really short sort of intro into what the goal of it is overall, which is what I've already stated, which is just giving someone a brief overview of what the heck is going on with this. What is PAD?
Yes.
So here we start to get into the cause, what is PAD. So I've gone through some of the causes of it, some of the risk factors, the symptoms, so how it might show up for you, and then also what it can turn into.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
Okay.
This is where we start to get a little bit more Scotland and NHS specific. So navigating PAD is tricky, and people say it came up all the time in our chat as well that people just don't know where to start. So this is kind of just to maybe help beat some of that overwhelm. It's an outline of kind of what you can expect. I'm not a doctor, so I can't give medical advice, but I can tell you what to expect from your doctor. So where you might. So this is the pathway that you kind of would take through the NHS. And then it's also about, it's hard sometimes doctors don't, it doesn't always feel like they're listening to you when you go
Yeah.
in. So this is adapted from a paper that is it's a really nicely researched paper about advocating yourself for yourself at the doctor. So you go in with this paper and it just helps you start that conversation with them. And then just some tips for how to talk to your doctor best. And then I kind of started moving into, okay, so you've covered everything with your doctor.
Mm.
Now, what are the things that you can do for yourself? Because of course you want to help yourself. Um, just starting to move into that. Um, and then that kind of continues and goes into the big thing you can do for yourself with pad, as we all know, which is exercising. But also like I always think it's all lovely to say that you should exercise, but if it doesn't tell you, if you don't know why, you're not going to do it. I don't do anything if I don't know why to do it. I need to do it.
Right?
So,
Exactly.
so I've started off with why do you exercise with pad? Why does it matter? So the basic kind of things we all hear in the media about why exercise is important, but also why it specifically can help with pad, talking about things like collateral arteries, severity of
Love that.
symptoms. Yeah. From there, I kind of started moving into, okay, so now we know why. How do we start? What is the first thing we do? And it's just a brief overview of what you can expect when you go out for a walk with pad. How the research says is the best way to be walking, which is this sort of walk, rest, walk pattern. Incorporating a warm up and a cool down, which is something you just don't really hear outside of cardiovascular physiotherapy. And then
Yeah.
also just some exercises that you can get started for if you're tired or if you can't get out or you're just like I want to do something but I'm so overwhelmed I can't go for a walk right now. These are just some exercises you can do at home as well, just to get started. Then moving into the other thing that I think is really hard, it's part of the problem with pad is that it hurts.
Yeah.
And you you can't ignore that part, I don't think. So the research unfortunately just isn't that clear about, well, how much is it supposed to hurt? And so really the only consensus I could find was that you know your body best, you know what you need to do, you guide yourself. And
Mhm.
there's some research out there that says that people can improve even if they never walk into pain, so to speak. So it's really just about what you find keeps you going. Because if you find that, well, if I'm walking until it hurts, I just don't go for walks, then don't do that. Just do what works for you. That's the most important thing about it. And then also just some ways that were shared in the group from the group about keeping your motivation up because it is hard. It's hard enough to exercise for most people. We know most people don't love to go to the gym and exercise, so it's hard enough to do it for someone without a disease. Once you get into pad, having pad, it's really important to just be kind to yourself and be like, how can I make this easier for myself? What can help me motivate? And then
And
I've
can
got a great big long list of references.
Yeah, no, those are great. And I love that you used Love Your Limbs. They're a great partner of ours with BD. BD has Love Your Limbs. I think that was
Fantastic.
the same. There might be another one, but I think it was BD. I love their website. I've been trying
Great.
to encourage them to put few more resources into it because I even love their procedure page where they explain the different procedures. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to reinvent the wheel because they've done such a great job. So again, I love that you were able to tap into what um they already had because those are fantastic. The only suggestion is if they're doing this, if they have this, probably they already have PAD, so I'm at risk of my pad progressing
Yeah.
possibly. And should I be screened for pad? Maybe how often should I get screened for PD, maybe just revise these just a little bit so they're more, someone already has PAD. That would be my only suggestion. The other one, which Kathy would probably also say, is we would love our group to be included in here. Maybe have a link To
Absolutely.
our group, I can give you a simple link that I can share with you that, hey, join a community, get motivated, come to, our weekly walking, seminars. And
Absolutely.
here's the group to find out more for UK, but we can also give the global group
I think
as
that's
well.
great.
But making sure the disclaimer, we don't endorse and make sure not to take medical advice from other patients,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that I thought could be interesting is, especially since your team there in Scotland has done so much with the TENS device, it
Okay.
might be interesting to put a section on um just ways in which it's beyond the motivation, but it's things that might help you to um, improve your walking distance. So it could be using a TENS device, maybe something about hydrating before, or what the rules might be. There are people that have chronic kidney disease, so keeping that in mind.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe if there are studies that are on like pickle juice or mustard or quinine, which I think that's the main ingredient in tonic water. Maybe there are a couple things in there that might be fun to include. Because I think nurse practitioner Kay, she always talked about, well, bring a little water bottle with and sip a little bit of tonic water, while you're walking, it might help.
Interesting. No, I'll definitely have a look towards that. Um, Absolutely, yeah. It's a good shout. I didn't put in much about the diet because I don't know anything about diet, but I'll see if there's some papers I can find.
We have a book, so I can send you our book.
Fantastic.
It's
Fantastic.
just remind me. I will send that to you. And it has, you can quote
Please.
Dr. Michael Danzinger, and I think our good friend nurse practitioner Kay might even be quoted in there, in our food as medicine book.
That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a look at that. Thank
And
you.
Kathy, anyone else? We have quite a few people here in our live studio audience. Make sure, if you're watching on YouTube, put your comments and such, and anything you want included in there. Catherine is donating our time for this, so it's amazing, and it's so comprehensive so far. So put your any questions you have or any other insights in the comments section, and Joshua, our amazing producer, is right there ready to grab them and bring them to Catherine. So if you're watching on youtube.com/, the way to my heart, don't forget to subscribe, but also comment. Even if the live video is over, we're going to grab those comments and bring them to Catherine. So we can make this even more comprehensive, because it's amazing. But Kathy, go ahead. You had some suggestions.
Yes, I think it's an excellent piece of work, Catherine. And I know
Yeah.
we know that we contributed to it. I can see where comments have been said by the people that came along to the group, the things they've said. It's very relevant for patients' lives. I think it's one of the most relevant things I've seen. I mean, I think the comment made by Kim there about, we would like you to promote the group. The thing about the group is it's peer support. It's peer
Yeah.
support, and we get a lot of people who say they've got more information from Kim's groups than they have got from the NHS or from their medical provider. And I think that's just because we're more focused on the things that might be of interest to people because we live with it, which is
Yeah.
perfectly understandable. We've got more time to think about it. But I think your book really reflects those things that have been said. I would be
Yeah.
very, very happy to promote this book as a starting guide to everybody who joined our UK group. And we get quite a few
Yeah.
joiners in a week, and people come in and they're pretty bewildered. They've been sort of tangled with this suspected diagnosis and plunged into this sort of terrifying world of Google and AI that just they don't know, they really don't know where to go for the
And
next bit of information.
And Kathy, the really cool thing is, what Catherine and I are working on is, with this simple booklet, you're going to have a link. And so Catherine can continue to make updates and the link will stay the same.
Yeah, that'd
So
be
she
great.
can when people have feedback, Kathy, if they have feedback, you can say, hey, Catherine, would you mind adding this? Or can we add that? Or what do you think about this? Or maybe there are some guidelines that have changed, and you can continue to share the same link. And
Yeah.
Catherine's also going to get the numbers to see how many people have downloaded it
Yes,
over time and see what they're looking at the most. And so we'll get some
that would be
analytics from
great
you as well.
information. I mean, the thing
Fantastic.
about the TENS is it's a sort of emerging, it's an emerging area. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
research, it's not conclusive, but if you're in the situation, as I found myself, where there really, you need to do something, but you've run out of ideas, and you really feel that you're stuck in a rut with it. And TENS did work for me. It
Okay.
worked enough
Mhm.
to get me to treble my steps and to get me the confidence of knowing I could walk from one end of the
Yeah.
community Woodland to the other and home again. And then I stopped using it. And guess what? I could still do the walk. So it got me to the point where it gave me that boost. It was a bit like having an electric bike that, when you needed to give your legs a bit of a boost, you could do it. But I wouldn't have known anything about it if I hadn't actually got involved with that trial. So these are emerging areas that would be of interest to people. So it'd be good to keep it update with things like that. Really useful for people. Because the
Yeah.
NHS, as we know, do not hand anything like this out. You do not get any kind of leaflet. You'd be really lucky if you get it. And although there might be resources online, they're not actually giving people the web addresses. They're not getting handed it out at the clinic. When I go to the vascular clinic, there's absolutely nothing on the walls that would point you to more resources.
Mm.
I'm wondering if something like, if I can figure out how to, it's now how do I move down? Whoops, it's going to move around. I wanted to show you. Here we are. See at the bottom, but I don't know how to. I want to, if I want to magnify and then I want to scroll down, it's not letting me scroll down.
Mm.
Oh, there we are. Look at this.
Oh, there
Ooh,
you go.
I'm getting smarter than the technology. Look at this. Okay, now we can see it. Having something, I don't know if this is would be helpful, having something like this that's prettier than what we created.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but showing people the different levels
Mm-hmm.
of claudication. If you look here, we just did a section on um, the diagnosis. They place the patients into a couple of different categories: claudicants and then critical limb ischemia, or more
Okay.
often we're calling it critical limb ischemia, critical limb threatening ischemia. But
Mm-hmm.
then a basic chart like this, and you're welcome to use it, but you can make it prettier, I'm sure. But what are the treatments for it based on the UK standards, and having the arrows going, okay, if you were considered an intermittent claudicant, meaning you
Mm-hmm.
walk, you have calf pain or hip pain or buttocks pain, but when you rest, it goes away. Well, that means walking, diet changes, stop smoking, and you can make it interactive like this.
Mm-hmm.
Medication. If it's lifestyle limiting, what that means, you could go either way. For the most part in the UK, though, at the NHS, if it's lifestyle limiting, they still don't do anything but walking, diet changes, stop smoking. Here in the
Yeah.
US, it's it can be either one. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if you have someone who, we've had a couple male carriers that have PAD despite their walking, they might have hereditary risk factors, they might have been smokers, they might have additionally, God bless you, they might have a clotting disorder as well. And so the walking isn't going to be enough, and they can't do their job. So here, I don't know about the NHS. Here, if that's the case and they really cannot do their job that they're
Mm-hmm.
assigned, then they will do a procedure. They will intervene to give them more blood flow so that they can do their job, which entails a lot of walking anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's lifestyle limiting. And also the other caveat for lifestyle limiting would be if someone is in a cardiac rehab program and they can't get their walking speed up to a point where they're benefiting from the cardiac rehab program, then a doctor here is okay to intervene as well. But other than that, it's mainly if they have rest pain and or wounds that are not healing, And
Yeah.
that's, of course, down at the bottom. But I don't
Mm.
know if you wanted to take a look at that. And Kathy and Mike and Fiona, Patty, what do you guys think? Would something like that be also helpful?
The difficulty in, and Catherine alludes to it in that, is that the management of this and the exact way and things are different across every health board in the UK, and there's I don't know how many health boards in England. We have health boards in Scotland, but it's overall NHS Scotland. Then you have
Yeah.
NHS Wales, but in England they have commissioning groups across many different areas.
Right.
They have widely different priorities and targets and the ways of management things. And that's why you see these huge differences between places like Leicester or Manchester compared to some other areas with
London,
what
yeah.
they're offering. And that would make it it might raise an expectation of something that wasn't available.
Or if you make it like we did, we made it kind of practice agnostic, where we left it to the doctor. So since she has some workbook type options where they can download it and print it out and bring it with them, the doctor can say, okay, here at our practice, this is how we treat it. So you're an intermittent claudicant, walking diet changes, your lifestyle limiting, but we're going to still go to walking diet changes, smoking, and they can tag what it is depending on the area.
I
Okay.
think that's pretty standard across the piece that they would do that. That would be they would do that, and they would do the medication. It's there seems to
Yeah.
be now much more willingness to put patients on straight onto medication to try and manage the risk than there was previously.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just anecdotal from what people say. You know, they say they're suspected, and then you find they're actually possibly taking clopidogrel and a statin. But
And
it's
what about a section just on the testing? Like how do you test for PAD? And what the resource and what you guys use as results in a place to put that as well. What is a CT angiogram?
I could
again, I think that.
absolutely. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Catherine, carry on.
I was just going to say, so for the symptoms, I think what I could do is I could summarize the current guidelines that are followed in Scotland.
Yeah.
And they are different than the ones in Wales. So I could summarize the NICE guidelines into suggested treatments. But like Kathy said, they will vary. They also vary quite considerably consultant to consultant.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So depending which vascular team you end up in, they'll have very different management approaches.
It would be difficult
For
to have a one size fits all there, I think, you know.
No,
yeah.
and that's why I would do it as it would be, these are the typical, I mean, all the treatments are pretty much standard. Like it's walking diet. Here's the conservative treatment. Here's the middle. Here the angioplasty, bypass, endarterectomy, and surgery, and just having those as little check boxes. So the doctor can talk to the patient as to saying, here's where you are, because where it says intermittent claudicant, that's standard. I mean, across the globe, it's fairly standard to say, okay, conservative treatment for intermittent claudicants. You shouldn't be jumping right into angioplasty and procedures. So, but still leave it as intermittent claudicant. And then here's what conservative therapy typically entails. The middle of the road is lifestyle modification, lifestyle limiting claudication. And for that is, I think, where it really varies, is whether you're going to just do, the conservative therapy, or whether you're going to move right into the angioplasty type of thing. But then also with critical limb ischemia, that's also pretty standard, where once you do have ischemic pain, you have rest pain that's waking you up, you have wounds that are not healing, it's either going to be angioplasty or an angiogram, bypass, endarterectomy, or amputation. And we can leave it open. So, it can vary. And when people go to their doctor, they can say, what is the treatment style here?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, especially what you said about, so if I go for symptoms against like what the expected treatment is, I think that also might help with what you mentioned, Kathy, with like explaining to people that it doesn't have to progress. I think it could tie in with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I don't want to terrify
Saying
them.
just like these are
Yeah.
different levels, they have different treatments. You might be anywhere on this scale. Yeah, I think I can absolutely I'll give it a go. I love to give things a go. So I don't see why I can't try. I think there may be some issues with saying anything definitively, but I think you're right,
No,
and
yeah.
that maybe there's sort of a
There are
something
guidelines,
there.
and they stick with the guidelines. I've had them quoted to me, you know.
Yeah.
She's had them
You know,
quoted to her.
yeah, you know
Ah,
not in relation to pad, but in relation to lipid management.
Mm,
When I wanted to more, I felt that there should be more concentration on the lipid management, but the
mm,
guidelines don't go down to that level of detail. I would say they need a bit of an update. So those are the guidelines the doctors use. So if the
yeah,
guideline says, and it's a chart, you work your way through, it's all standard, it's all there, it's all available on the NHS, anyone
yeah,
can read it. And it
yeah,
makes it quite clear at what point you would be sent for further tests to see whether or not you would be likely to be offered other treatment. And what you mentioned is part, if you can't do your job, that is a critical factor.
yeah,
that is a really critical
yeah,
factor in that. But I think that could be really helpful, but maybe leaving it open so that the doctors, and it depends, so it could be used in different areas, and the doctors could use it to customize for their particular area, their particular practice. But what about a resource in there? One of the things I was reading a lot about is if you do have ischemic issues, if you do have a wound, I think it's important for patients to know what the NICE rules are. And it's pretty similar. I think it's just within a few days difference in terms of making sure that you get like it if you need care within 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever, but that might be a good side note, just kind of an important note in there that if you do have a wound that is not healing, here's what the guidelines say,
hmm,
across England or, Wales or South Wales or Scotland.
yeah. Just so people know when to kind of escalate as well. That might be helpful. I can see that.
Yeah.
And it just has to be a thought, but I think it's when I was looking at it, I think it was pretty standard over there. Over here in the US, there isn't like there isn't anything in the guidelines says, oh, within 24 hours you have to be seen or you have a right to be seen or anything like that. But over there, it's great. You do. You should be seen here, but um
Yeah.
over there, it's guaranteed,
Mm,
supposedly.
yeah, depends where you are. I know that the Highlands can have quite long waiting lists, but
Uh, we
yeah.
don't have.
Yeah.
I think part of the book that Catherine's done refers to navigating the health. So I think that would be a good place to link this
Yeah.
stuff into, because the navigation of that is very, very related to the area you're in.
Yeah.
So there definitely wouldn't be one size fits all there.
Yeah.
Really, there isn't, because it's completely organised completely differently. Even like in this health board, because it's a lot of rural, it's organised quite differently, and quite often they refer out of the area as well,
Hmm.
to other cities. So
Mm.
it would be very complicated to try and put that amount of information in. So I think something general like,
Yeah.
navigating the system will vary, and you've said that, Catherine, from area to area. And then maybe we should have some examples of some people who say, well, I went to the doctor, then I was sent to the hospital, then this happened, and then it's 20 years since I got a diagnosis, and things have changed dramatically. So I'm probably way out of touch with what happens now.
Yeah, I'll have a look. I'll see if there's anything available. I think the idea is fantastic with getting an example of someone. I think the only issue there is so much of this is about like what other conditions you have and what other sort of, and so I fear that they would become very special very quick, very specialized very quickly. It would be almost impossible to find someone who would be happy to volunteer who only had pad, for example, and therefore their service was only through the vascular service, if that makes sense. I think
Yeah.
that would be the only issue with that. But I could make someone, I could make Jane Doe and I could describe her path through. I'd be happy to do that. I think that'd be very, very, very possible.
Yeah, it could be, just an example of what the path should be.
Yeah.
There could be a few scenarios where you have the basic path where someone's starting to realize that they have claudication and
Mm.
what that looks like in a very, very basic form, and what they should say to their doctor, which is, I have leg cramps when I walk that feel better and go away when I rest. You need to be very specific with these doctors, to let for them to be able to determine, okay, are they experiencing sciatica pain, are they experiencing just diabetic neuropathy, like what are they experiencing? And then another one would be, I have a wound that suddenly has appeared on my foot, I have diabetes, could this be something? What do you do? Hey, it might be a circulation issue. When you go, you have a right to be seen within a certain amount of time, varies based on area, but this is what you tell the doctor is say,
Mm.
hey, I have a wound. Here are the things I tried. It has not healed over X amount of time. Um, could it be a circulation issue with my arteries or
Mm.
my veins?
Yeah.
And
I,
sometimes you're not telling the doctor what to think, but sometimes you need to lead the witness a little bit.
The other issue for the NHS is it's in silos. So you can be a diabetic patient and that doesn't talk to anything to do with vascular,
yeah.
not directly. And then if you're a cardiovascular patient, that doesn't talk to either diabetic or anything to do
Oh,
with vascular.
Yeah.
I
The only
know
thing
they do
would
that here
be
too.
that you're taking the drugs already, the medications already if you're a cardiac patient.
Yeah.
But and also the other thing that isn't mentioned in the book, which I think is relevant, because we do see people posting this, and it always frightens me, that people can present with heart symptoms at the same time as they present with leg symptoms.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And these are, you would hope, more urgent because their potential would be more urgent. But we haven't really said that this is a systemic process and it can lead to
Mm.
narrowings elsewhere.
Hmm.
Um,
That is an important note. I think she brings up a good point because whether it's here or there, here we have cardiologists that also treat PAD interventionally,
Hmm.
much to the dismay of vascular surgeons. But in the UK, you have vascular surgeons that are the main, treatment providers for PAD, and cardio is separate. And I think the same issue that we have sometimes with vascular surgery here and the same there is that they're myopic. They're not going to do a referral to a cardiologist unless you are actively expressing that you have angina. And so the thing it might be worth noting in there for patients that when you do have PAD, you might not be walking at a pace that will trigger
angina.
angina initially, that will trigger the shortness of breath that could be caused by a cardiovascular issue,
Hmm.
narrowing in the coronary region. Please pay attention. Make sure that as you increase your pace, if you
Yeah.
do start experiencing symptoms such as shortness of breath, chest tightness, do notify your doctor, go to the nearest ED, whatever it might be, and let them know of these symptoms. Because if you have PAD, it is likely that at some point you could develop CAD, or you may have it already.
Yeah. No, that's a
That
great
would
point.
be,
For the exercise section, especially in the bit where I talk about progressing, I think that's a really important thing. I'll add that in.
yeah. So this is really helpful. I don't know if Fiona or Patty, you want to weigh in, um, to let Catherine know what you think, but I think that this, I mean, it's so comprehensive, and we want to make it so it could be a real handbook for you. Fiona, what do you think?
Obviously, I haven't read it yet, but from what I've heard tonight, I'm actually really encouraged and thinking, gosh, I wish I'd had this a year ago when I was first diagnosed. I think you've covered everything really that I'm sitting here now with a glass of tonic water because I had no idea about tonic before. Kathy's covered the situation in Scotland really well. The 14 regional health boards are all very, very different, and there are other overarching health areas as well, which cover things on a national basis. So to try to find something, as you said, one size fits all is very, very hard across the UK. So no, I'm very happy with what I've heard tonight. I think it sounds like it's going to be absolutely terrific. And all the additional suggestions that have come in, I think sound fab.
Fantastic.
And I do have, I was going to pull up, if I can, the Food for Thought book,
Oh,
so that you
fantastic.
can see what that looks like. It's like 100 pages or something ridiculous. But it was, let me see, well, we can go through why your arteries, how food damages and heals arteries, cholesterol. And I want to see, sorry, I'm flipping so fast, all the different diets that are available,
Yeah,
food
fantastic.
substitutes, our food tree, which is funny. We started out with this food tree that was in there that is now more like the new USDA guidelines. Protein, kidney health, warfarin, wound healing. Let's see. I know it's in here. Oh, so here. So can water help with claudication? There was a research study on that. And so I put a little thing in there about water intake. And here's where I worked with nurse practitioner Kay on including ways to reduce claudication.
Okay.
And there's tonic water, mustard, pickled juice, watermelon, sweet potatoes, and that kind of thing that might be in here. We tried to include, things that we found clinical research. So you might be able to pull up what the clinical research actually was on these. So you can include us as a resource, but you could include what the actual citation is for the stuff. I took a journalistic approach with this book. So when you're a journalist, you don't have to include all the citations. But yeah, so I thought that
That's
might.
fantastic. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that. That looks really good. For sure. I also would love to reference some of the other like books and stuff that you guys had. I just was very focused with this one. I was trying to make sure it could be printable and still make sense, if that makes sense. But I'm happy to also make like a more online version than a more printable version. It won't be a lot of changes, but just things like links to some of the things you've talked about, I can insert those. I think that might be helpful as well. If you think that would be, because obviously and I do want to give you guys all the credit. This wouldn't have happened without this group and without all of you guys helping me out. So I absolutely want, I want your resources and you guys in there.
Wouldn't have
Yeah,
happened without you, Catherine. So
I
we're
know,
grateful to
Catherine, seriously.
have our voices heard. Um, and you've done a great job.
Could
Yeah,
I
I love what you did.
Can I ask where you can get the food book? Because a quick look on Amazon here, it says it's currently unavailable.
Shouldn't be unavailable. It should be
That's
easy.
UK.
The UK should. Are there a couple different versions? It might have a different version. You might have to pull up, see if there's a different version that's available. Because I've ordered them out of the UK for people in the UK.
I think it's because you have to get them on the .com site.
No, because I've actually ordered them because I have to go to the other site. Let me see if I can pull it up. So Amazon.uk, I think it is. Here it is. Let me see. I'm not sure if I'm on the UK. I don't think I'm on UK. UK Amazon. Nope. I used to have it. What is it? It's Amazon.uk.
.co.uk.
.co.uk.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, here I am. Full artery disease. And I will look. Oh, Kevin's book is even on there. Here it is. I found it. I looked under peripheral artery disease, food for thought. And it says paperback is $22.14. And or you can get the hardcover that says you can add it to the basket.
Okay.
And it's food for thought, but I just looked up peripheral artery disease and I scrolled down. And that's what I do even in the UK. I didn't do a very good job with the keywords and titling it, putting a title of food for thought. There were a bunch of food for thought books. and
Okay,
so,
I'll try that. Sorry.
Nope, that's fine.
I'll keep looking.
But we do have the online version as well, so I can give you the
Okay.
online version for free if you want it. I can put that into the chat here for you.
Thank you.
And then you can, there you go. And that, so you can
Thank you.
Thank you
put
so much.
online as a resource, which is great. And I can share with everybody, we have the one that Catherine just created, and we can, I just have to go back and get the actual page 1, starting on page 1, and then I can share that one as well. There you go. So, and if other people want to join the live studio audience, just always email us at info@padhelp.org. Also take a look, at this video again and see if there's anything that we didn't include or Catherine didn't include in the guide that you'd like to see in the guide. And, if you're on the YouTube side, also subscribe to our channel. It'd be great. We have great content like this every single week. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Kathy, Marie, Patty, Fiona, Mike, Joshua, everyone here. But have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.